Welcome back to She Shield. Today it is a solo episode. I've decided to do this because I've gotten some frequently asked questions about being a creator in the gun industry. Turns out it's actually not common sense. And so I want to be a voice for you all. If you're interested in starting to create content, whether that be leisurely or as a side hustle, to make this potentially a way of supporting yourself and or your family through, doing what you love, then let's talk about it. Because guys, like, I don't know if you've listened to my story much, my personal story, but I dropped out of medical school and I have had to truly just pave my path my own way. Um, Before we get into kind of the specifics and the technique, I will say a lot of this is a mentality and framework thing. And that's not to say that it is a perfectly straight line because nothing ever is in this life. But if you limit yourself, then you can assuredly know that you will not move forward on this path. You have to get out of your own way. You have to become uncomfortable and be okay with getting uncomfortable, putting yourself out there, and if you do that, some really amazing things come from that. And if you guys have yet to really hear my story, the first episode of season 2, Behind the Shield, goes into my story of quitting medical school and essentially jumping into the gun industry. I got a master's degree in between there, but I really just decided that I wanted to do this long term and take it seriously. But guys, it took time. It took time to get there. So if you're considering it, this is a great episode to listen to. If you've decided that you want to make this a career, then this is also a great episode to listen to. If anything, it's a couple more data points you can put on your map to determining what you want to do long term. So I'm glad you're here. Let's go ahead and dive into it. And I have my phone today for some notes because there's just so much on this topic. So if you're wanting to create content in the gun industry, the first thing I want you to think about is, who are you creating content for? This is the determination of your audience, and it is going to be one of the most important aspects of becoming a creator that you could possibly ever have. This is because without knowing who you're speaking to, your content can feel kind of aimless. You may not feel, very sure about what the piece of content's purpose is. But if you can determine your audience, you can determine, what questions and issues your audience has so that you can help solve a problem, right? Um, and guys, if you've ever really heard of a content trifecta, it kind of changed my entire outlook on content. And that's that content is really broken down into educational, entertainment, or storytelling. And if you can get those three together, you have got one of the most solid pieces of content out there and it will perform well. And so think about trying to do those three things without knowing who you're telling a story to, who you're educating, or who you're trying to entertain. It's really hard to do those things. Are you speaking to beginners, women, competitive shooters, moms, outdoorsmen, travelers, everyday people, tactical athletes, people just intimidated by, things out in the world? I'm really trying to speak to beginner people, people who are just deciding that they want to get into the world of protection for themselves, for their families. And then they're also interested in doing things like competitive sports in shooting to get better with those disciplines. I've done that with everything from USPSA, IDPA to tactical games to shotgun competition, just to become better at that particular discipline within that competition. That's something that I value and is a kind of surefire and quick way to do that while gaining access to this incredible community of people. So if that sounds like something that is appealing to you, then absolutely, you would be my core audience. You would hopefully be someone who finds my page and who I can notoriously speak to. This episode of She Shield is brought to you by Right to Bear. You've probably heard me say that self-defense is more than simply carrying a firearm. It's awareness, avoidance, and preparation for anything that is to come your way. And that's why I'm partnering with Right to Bear. They stand by defenders like you and me. You'll receive benefits like expert witness support, psychological care, gun replacement, and even protection for other lawful self-defense tools like pepper spray, knives, and even your hands and feet if you have to use them in a struggle. What sets Right to Bear apart is that they are dedicated to education and immediate legal response. In case you do ever have to protect yourself, you have access to a 24/7 attorney-answered emergency hotline so that you are never alone. What I love most, though, has to be the personal connection that Right to Bear will have with you as a member. For example, Frank, the president of Right to Bear, will give you a personal phone call when he hears about a claim being filed. That level of care in the industry is extremely rare. If you carry, train, and believe in thinking ahead to protect yourself and your family, consider getting a membership with Right to Bear. If you use my code FIT4FIA10, you will get 10% off your membership, and the link to access this and to learn more is located in the show notes of this episode, which are the notes below the title. Protecting yourself and your family should not leave you defenseless afterwards. Stay safe and stay vigilant with Right to Bear. Once you determine your audience, you want to make sure you set yourself up for success with your profile. If you think about your, say on Meta, your reel finding, someone's For You page, they should be able to swipe over to your page and see exactly what you're there to offer. This should make them want to hit that follow button so they don't miss the content that you are providing. Your profile should show who you are, what you talk about, and what value to get people to follow you. Make sure you have a clean photo for your profile picture. Make sure it shows your face. I really like mine because it's my face, but you can also see my concealed carry gun kind of sticking out. And if you're looking close enough, um, you can kind of see that uh, whole picture together. And hopefully that's better than me just pointed out and shooting, because I found that that kind of takes away from my face. That's going to change. I probably change mine every 6 months or so. I try not to change it too often because people really do start, you know, connecting your profile picture to who you are. And, you know, that's just part of your identity at some point. Make sure you have organized links. If you have a website, make sure that's in your bio. If you have so many links and you don't have a website, use something like a link tree to put them all in the same place. Examples of what you can say in your bio are helping beginners get into USPSA. Another example is outdoor preparedness and personal safety. And then concealed carry education for everyday people. I'm someone who currently only has my name as my name, my name as my name, my profile name as my first name. And that's because I am Meta verified and they require an ID. And I have yet to be able to put anything else besides just my first name. And I don't want my last name on there. So right now I just have that. But if I can help it, and I do plan to change this, I will have more of a description of who I am on there. Next, you're going to think about a posting cadence. So a lot of people are like, I can't do social media because I can't commit to posting every day. While that is technically what Meta recommends, and I know because I had a call with Meta about a month ago, they don't, that may be what Meta wants. Sorry, let me start over. If that may be what Meta wants, but if that's not something that you can reliably and consistently produce, then we're obviously not going to set that as the goal. If you're someone who can produce 3 posts a week, maybe 2 reels and a carousel, make sure that you determine the days you're going to do that, maybe Monday, Wednesday, Friday, and then consistently do that week to week. That's the important part, the consistency. Um, I was on a live stream yesterday with Alyssa, and someone hopped on and said, I'm really inspired by your journey, the fact that you paved your own path. What do you do about getting knocked down? Um, and I said, it's not about, he said something like, what happens if you get knocked down? I said, it's not about if, it's when. And it's not about how many times or how you get knocked down. It's the fact that if you get back up and remain consistent, you will remain successful. So know that you will fall and you will feel this incredible, overwhelming sense of imposter syndrome. But the most important thing is that you ultimately make it consistent and make it exist, even before you feel ready. Hopefully that fired you all up a little bit. I know that I need to hear that all the time. Consistency is more important than intensity. If you post every day for a week and then don't post at all for a week, that doesn't help you. If you can spread that out into 3 posts on one week and 3 posts the next week, hell yeah. Let's talk about some platform differences, because it's not just about Instagram. I'm a little bit biased since I use Instagram the most, but I will tell you that Instagram as a short form platform is improving for the gun industry. There is a gentleman that is working really hard to make Meta not be such a scary place for gun creators. So we're all really thankful for him. But that is going to be a slow process. Know that for Instagram, posting reels are how you get discovered. That's going to be put out to new audience. Whereas carousels, which are those photo sets of, say two or more photos and perhaps some videos sprinkled in those photo sets, carousels are more of a behind the scenes, a deeper storytelling aspect. And then stories are to build kind of a relationship, connect you to the viewer on a daily basis, as well as incorporate links. Those are the best two parts about stories. YouTube is a place for long form content, also short form to help people find your long form content on there, but it's incredibly searchable, right? If someone Googles concealed carry from scratch, they're going to see my concealed carry from scratch series. So that's been a great place for me to really deepen my educational content and ensure that if someone on my short form platforms like Meta asks a question like, how do I get started in concealed carry? I can literally just point to my YouTube profile and they can go there. Now, I'm only really going to talk about Meta and YouTube today because those are my specialties, and I got banned on TikTok at 136,000 followers. So I'm not a huge fan of TikTok for that reason. Um, and it's just sad that, it is that way. But for now, Meta and YouTube are my favorite. So those are examples of how your content may diversify depending on the platform. Note the consistent aspect of the short form videos. Those are a great way to bring more exposure to either your profile or your long form videos, such as on YouTube. Next, you're going to plan your content like a system. This is especially if you're someone who's wanting to make more of a career out of this. So, you're going to determine that frequency and then determine what you want to do with that: education, storytelling, entertainment, or all three, or a combination of one of or two of the three. And then you will script, you will film, you will edit, you will post, and you will purpose. Those are a lot of steps. I always laugh at people who laugh at creators as if it's not, a full job. There is so much to the process. And while it may be a short trend that you literally just implement a few pieces of B-roll to, a lot of it is videos with talking heads that take planning because especially in the firearms world, you do not want to misinform someone. You want to be thorough and you want to be clear. And so it does take planning to do that. So don't try to post, edit, do everything the same week. Try to implement some type of schedule that gives you time. As someone who notoriously does that, that is my biggest piece of advice. The next thing is stop obsessing over finding a niche. A lot of people are like, what is my niche? Am I an outdoors girly? Am I a concealed carry girly? Be yourself, be your own niche. My own niche is that I'm all about self defense and preparedness, but I use competition sports and shooting to help me get better with my platforms. I use USPSA to get better with my pistols. I use the tactical games to get better with my rifle. I use shotgun competition. I'm going to Shotgun Worlds this year in Greece on the ladies' modified team. And I'm using that to become more proficient with a shotgun for defensive purposes. And while not everything crosses over, a lot of those same gun manipulations and just usage and comfort with those firearms do cross over. So become your own niche and then freaking run with that. The next thing I'm going to talk about is reaching out to brands. And this is where the money is, guys. This is where a lot of people are like, how do I do that? What do I do? First of all, I just want to acknowledge that that is a totally valid question. There's so much that goes into this, and you want to do it right. You don't want your outreach to brands to be a reason that maybe they don't want to work with you. You want to come in prepared. Um, After you establish some social media presence and you get a few pieces for a portfolio, I highly recommend you create a media kit or a creative portfolio, whatever you want to call it, a place where you can state who you are, what your mission is online, show your following on all of your platforms, and then show some example pieces of short form video, long form video, and photo, of course, depending on what you want to do. If you're someone who's like, no, I'm not interested in YouTube, obviously your creative portfolio then would not include any long form video um, kind of pieces, right? Create that creative portfolio, take time to make it look good. If you're thinking, I have no idea how to do that, go into Canva, type in marketing or creative portfolio, choose a template you like, and start adding your own content to it. Canva is free for a lot of features. If you don't want to pay, this is a great place to get started. Again, it's about making it exist even before you're ready. But of course, try and make it look as good as possible. Send it to some friends, some family, see what they think before you send it to a brand. When you reach out to a brand, be direct. Say, hey, X brand team. So, like, hey, Glock team, nice to meet you. My name is so and so. I'm incredibly interested in collaborating on X product. It's given me the ability to do X. I really enjoy it because of X. Would you be willing to pass me an email from your marketing team so I can get in touch about a potential collaboration? Boom. Perfect little message. If you're someone who's not as good as, at articulating messages like that, use ChatGPT. Prompt it with what you're wanting to do and help it create a well articulated message that you can send over to a brand. If that's too scary for you, note that I created a brand called Arsenal Marketing and Sales Collective, and we represent influencers for just this. We help you reach out to brands, get connected. We help you determine your audience, everything from your audience to determining your rates for what you should be charging for your videos and photos and collaborations and things like whitelisting, so that you can successfully represent yourself, articulate why you charge what you charge, and ultimately have more successful intentional collaborations. If that's something you are interested in, I will link our website in the show notes, which are the notes below the title of this podcast. And if you're not sure, fear not. We like to make sure our creators also align with us. My business partner, Rebby, and I will meet with you for about a 15 to 30-minute intake video. We call it our meet and greet, and this will be an opportunity for us to get to know you, get to know your mission, and help you determine some next steps. And yeah, as far as kind of any more information on that, if you're interested, guys, please feel free to shoot us an email. We'll send you a link to get that meeting scheduled, and we'll also send you an intake form we'll have you fill out so we can get to know you a little bit more and prepare some things for a meeting. Obviously, a shameless plug there, guys. I created Arsenal because I've gotten this question so many times. How do I become a creator in the space? How do I do what you do? And while there is no magic formula, I can tell you what I did that works. I can tell you what people from legitimate sources from Meta have said works. And then you get to find what works for you in there. And it all goes back to determining your personal mission, what you're wanting to do, and how much of that you want to make work, right? It's such a blessing to be able to make this industry and what I do in this industry work because it doesn't feel like work. I've always been one to want to empower and help protect others. So arming people not only with gear but with technique is something I'm incredibly passionate about, and being able to, support myself off of this career has been, gosh, guys, just like one of the coolest things in the world. I was going to be a doctor in a hospital 9 to 5 and not be able to have any control over my schedule unless I opened private practice. And that would have been years and years down the road. So this really has changed my life, but it all starts with knowing who I am, only aligning with brands that I fully trust, because at the end of the day, you build trust with your audience and you only want to connect them with brands that you genuinely trust. So do not take every offer that comes to you. Do not take the easiest offer. Always and only work with brands that represent who you are. And I promise you, they will appreciate that as well. All right, guys, that's a wrap. I can't give away all my secrets on here because if you are interested in working with Arsenal, that is where those secrets lie. That is where I'm continuing to execute this side of kind of influencer marketing and helping people become better strategists in this industry. So if you're interested in that, guys, utilize us as a resource. And if anything, please share this episode with anyone that is curious about this. And if you're not in the gun industry, hopefully this has at least helped you kind of find what your voice and who your audience might be. All right, guys, I will see you in the next episode. Stay safe and stay vigilant.